And the reason why I think this box office won't even hit 310 is because from Raiders of the Lost Ark to even to Crystal Skull, there's so much Indiana Jones stuff. If you bought Indiana Jones had those choose your own adventure books, there's like 15 of them. They also had these other books. They had comic books. They had all kinds of things. And the whole thing with Indiana Jones, what made him really cool was that he went after whether mythology artifacts or religious artifacts or whatever it was. And it made you somewhat interested in the history of where he's going and the adventure that he's doing. Right. Cool. So it's all that said and done. Now, from Crystal Skull to today, there has been nothing with Indiana Jones. There might have been, I think, like I said, the Lego video game, maybe. There has been no books. There has been nothing out there. And you wonder why people aren't going to just go see this movie. Like, there's a whole generation of people that are just like, I don't even know who this person is. I might have seen, dear old dad sitting on the couch watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, when it was on TNT for free, but that's pretty much it. But there was before, there was just all these things that made you fall in love with it. And I have all the books. It made you fall in love with this character. Just made you understand who he was. How not only was he a history person, but he wanted to respect the history. He didn't want to change history. He didn't want to do anything like that. So the fact that he wanted to stay and Helena was like, oh, you can't stay. You might change history. That is not who Indiana Jones ever was in any adaptation from comic books and movies of who he was is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's the message right there. And I said this before, I think on Valiant's yesterday morning, right? There's an underlying message that maybe a lot of people didn't pick up. And even with the rewrited ending, if they want to keep pushing that narrative that it didn't happen, is that it was showing that it was a message to older fans, the older fandom. Stay back in the past where your fandom is, where you can enjoy it and let us control the ship. It was pretty much telling us to F off. That's what it was. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that, but that was plain there.
But to both of your points, both Steven and Jay, the audience is already, and I'm going to use bad words, off. They're gone.
But culture, they're effed off. But the problem is there's still people out there that have a dedication to share the family memories and the memories they have of these films. Like Jay's a lover of Indiana Jones, right? Everyone is a lover of some franchise. You're stubborn.
But it's broader than that. It's broader than even Lucasfilm. Wait, just a second. It's broader than it's broader than even Lucasfilm. But just to keep it Lucasfilm focused, right? They basically told all of the generational fans like myself and others that they didn't want us. Then they showed us that they didn't want us, and they proved that they didn't want us. So by the time we get around to the last and final thing that they have to destroy, they've gotten rid of the 50-plus-year-old guys. So look, this film was targeted, or could only be targeted, at an audience between 35 and 75 years old. Right. True. And that's it. And yet they've already told all those people to go pound sand. Yep. That is not going to. Well, first of all, you're already limiting the appeal of this. And the great thing is Pro pointed out earlier, when you don't have to go back. You don't have to go back to.
I like where this is going. Culture, keep going.
You don't have to go back to Crystal Skull. Go back further. Go back to Crusade, because as I talk about tomorrow in the video that I'm releasing, because I really do think this is going to be a very dismal performer in the box office.
It is.
You've more than cut your audience in half. Your opening weekend audience went from 11 million plus people that showed up at an average ticket price of $3.99 back in 1989, right, to an average ticket price, and I'm being kind and using the lower number, $11 a ticket.
It's $15.
Less
$15.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying national.
He's being very kind.
Yeah, I'm being kind.
Stock, guys.
Okay.
I'm giving them the conservative number to be kind.
I don't like conservatives.
Because it's 450. Oh, excuse me. No, I don't want to be wrong on this. Give me just a second. But it's half. It's less than half the audience. I don't want to be wrong. This is why it's really important to tell the truth. And I think the truth is really key. Give me 2 seconds to make sure I have the number right. The back of the napkin.
It's about half.
Well, yeah. Disney neo-Marxism doesn't.
75, 3 repeating, of course.
About 9.2 million to 4.6.
And I got a counter attachment for culture after this too.
Okay, it is 5,454,000 people rounded. So it is less
And
than half.
That's being as generous as you could possibly be.
It is, because if you are looking at 11,754,000 people that saw this, the Last Crusade film, the last Indiana Jones film, as far as I'm concerned, at an average ticket price of $3.99. You know, each theater, and mind you, there were only a handful of theaters that film showed in back then. Each theater generated $15,914. And that was on 2,327 screens, which it only managed to maintain that number for 5 weekends, because the 1989 was one of the busiest movie seasons of all time. And it was one of those big tentpoles of the time. Now, there were 38,000 indoor screens in the domestic market. And this particular film, this is where it gets really crazy, premiered on 4,600 of those screens. There's nobody in these theaters. I went to a theater that's huge. It's 500 people in an audience. There were 39 people in there. It's 17%.
Culture, last weekend adjusted for movie ticket prices was the worst box office weekend for the summer in the history of modern movies. This film had no competition.
Yeah.
There was nothing to stop it. And I'll tell you this, and then Stephen, I know you want to make a comment here.
Thank you.
But I'll give you an example of where this movie shows that it has no idea what franchise it exists in. The line, and this was in the marketing, which may have driven people away. This may have been critically damaged to the film, although I think there's plenty more to this. But where Indiana Jones says, it's not what you believe, it's how hard you believe it. This is a man who literally watched a man drink out of the wrong cup, age to like 110 years old in 3 seconds and explode, and then use the correct cup to heal his father. And this guy is saying it's not what you believe, it's how hard you believe it. They can't figure out who this man is, what he has seen, what he has been through. It is postmodernism, and they can't get away from it.
And I'm going to attach to culture too, because I've said this before. No, I don't make the videos. Maybe we should start. But this is also on top of that. If we're focusing on Disney as a general, it is now, we're at the point, whether it be from Last Jedi till now, the brand Disney is no longer a viable company that is not only not family safe, it is no longer entertainment safe. It is now a virus. It is a toxin. It is a cancer in the industry. And this is the biggest thing that comes to anything coming out from this place. Not because it's lost its way. It's because it keeps telling people we're either going to infect you or tell you to F off. There is no longer a cure for this. Disney is falling not because people are turning and closing their wallets away. Disney is falling because they've lost the magic of what it is to entertain a family. It doesn't matter if you're a full nuclear family, 2 dads, 2 moms, 1 dad, single mom. It doesn't matter. They have no idea how to talk to people in entertainment. And I speak of this as a son who was introduced to all this stuff by my dad, whether it be Trek, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. Those things matter. That is the attachment. They have severed all attachments, and it's no longer political. It is now emotional insanity, and nobody wants to look up at a screen where they're just told they're horrible. No one wants to introduce their kids to an environment where they're told they're horrible. But don't tell your parents I said this. All of it is stemmed from one thing, a bias of trying to manipulate how people think, work in a household that is not theirs.
Yep. Postmodern, not only just postmodernism, it's also postmoralism in a lot of ways. It's like they've become their own Yahtzee.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he just showed up, but this is what you just said, Odin, is to his point. We went from religious relics to science. And that's something that Tom has been espousing this entire time.
That's not how the Force works.
Exactly. And I'll reiterate that point, because I think that speaks to what both Odin and Stephen were just talking about.
There's a lack of creativity. Sorry, Tom, I may say it, but that's it. They're killing escapism.
It's not that they're banning the principles of the film. Go ahead, Tom.
But I'm saying the principle is that. But I'm saying is, if you kill the escapism, you kill the creativity, you kill the franchise, you kill the fandom, you kill the audience, and then they're just going to accept whatever was good enough.